when it comes to someone you know. Have you ever had a negative impression of them? Perhaps you have a persistent feeling that something isn't quite right. Therefore, it's possible that your gut is trying to convey an essential message to you. Within the scope of this video, we will explore the realm of Stoic philosophy in order to identify 9 indications that you may be interacting with a person who is truly destructive to you. Fear not, however. At the same time, we will investigate Stoic practices that can assist you in navigating these challenging situations and protecting yourself. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and become a member of our community. Now fasten your seatbelts and get ready to discover how to identify and react to evil as the ancient Stoics express their knowledge. Number 1. They enjoy the misfortune of others. Malice perverts some people's minds, causing them to delight in other people's disaster. They appear to experience increased spirits whenever they encounter another person's pain. Whether watching a tragedy unfold on the nightly news or observing a dramatic incident play out in front of them, this phenomenon, commonly called schadenfreude, exposes a notable disengagement from the principles of virtue that Stoic philosophy vigorously advocates. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, reminds us that genuine pleasure is independent of one's surroundings. This phenomenon originates from within, stemming from cultivating a mentality immune to the ups and downs of outrageous fate. Conversely, these evil individuals have surrendered to their emotions and succumbed to the fleeting joy of schadenfreude. Tragic events cause other people's past suffering to disappear like shadows on a wall. Epictetus, another Stoic luminary, warns it is not what happens to you that upsets you, but your judgment about what happens to you. This is a severe indication. As they feast on the suffering of others, their distorted judgment reveals a profound inner conflict that they have been harboring. The greatest threat they pose is their inherent pessimism and the possibility that they may actively work to achieve unfavorable outcomes. Stoicism values the concept of amor fati, which translates to love of fate or acceptance of what is beyond our control. These people, on the other hand, distort this notion to control fate and generate disaster for their perverse enjoyment. Identifying such people before they cause devastation is of the utmost importance. On the other hand, the Stoics do not support the practice of lingering on negative thoughts. As an alternative, Seneca, another proponent of Stoicism, offered the following advice: associate with those who will make you better. By surrounding oneself with people who exemplify Stoic ideals such as reason, virtue, and resilience, you may effectively construct a defense mechanism against the harmful impact of others. It is essential to remember that Epictetus tells us that happiness and freedom begin with a clear understanding of one thing: some things are within our control, and some things are not. Only when we distinguish between the two will we be able to start finding peace. You can regulate your emotions and company, even though you cannot control these people or their warped desires. Cultivating inner serenity constructs a life immune to the shadows thrown by individuals who dwell in schadenfreude. If you align yourself with the ideals of Stoicism, number 2, they have control issues. The urge for complete and total control, which is associated with those who are malicious, reveals a significant fault in their character. Epictetus, one of the most essential Stoic thinkers, reminds us that true power does not reside in the capacity to influence other people, but rather in the ability to govern ourselves. He says, "It is not he who reviles or strikes me who insults me, but my own view that I am insulted." Because of a lack of inner control, the wicked person seeks it out from the outside world, attempting to exert control over both events and others. A skewed understanding of the universe is the root cause of their need to exert control over others. Another great Stoic, Seneca, cautioned against the illusion of safety in controlling everything. He said, "We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more from imagination than from reality." The malicious individual, terrified of the unknown and the things of life beyond their control, attempts to achieve a fictitious sense of security through dominance. Their initial civility and timeliness serve as a mask concealing their genuine goals. Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor and Stoic practitioner, gave the following advice: do not waste any more time arguing about what a good man ought to be. B1. In the end, the dominating character of the malicious person is in direct opposition to the orderliness they provide to the universe. In addition to controlling your activities, they aim to control your ideas and emotions. This is consistent with the Stoic notion that the source of genuine happiness lies within oneself. The malicious person intends to disrupt your inner peace by manipulating your feelings. The following excerpt from Epictetus' statement reads, "Happiness and freedom begin with a clear understanding of one thing. Some things are within our control, and some things are not. Only when we distinguish between the two can we start finding peace. You can achieve inner serenity by first understanding what you can control, your own emotions, and what you cannot control, their conduct. Keep in mind that you are not required to participate in their game. If you engage in Stoicism, you can remove yourself from their attempts to control your feelings and find strength in your virtue and reason. Number 3, they are habitually dishonest. We all make mistakes. The human condition is characterized by flaws, such as a hurried statement here and a white lie there. Nevertheless, a life that is continually braided with falsehood is indicative of a more concerning pattern. The fact that a true liar becomes a prisoner within their own imagined universe is something that Epictetus may have cautioned against. In the process of painstakingly weaving a tapestry of lies, they mistake the created strands for the actual fabric of life. A drive for self-preservation or manipulation is frequently the driving force behind this obsessive dishonesty, which serves a purpose. Taking on the role of a shrewd strategist, the liar strives to exert control over the narrative. They distort reality as a sculptor shapes clay, projecting a desired image, possibly a veneer of power, intelligence, or moral superiority. This is in line with the Stoic idea that many people seek affirmation from the outside world while ignoring the actual source of worth, the virtue that comes from within. Lies are not the most potent weapon in a liar's arsenal. Losing confidence is the most powerful weapon they use. Gaslighting techniques distort reality so much that even the most grounded person begins questioning their perspective. According to the Stoic philosophy, this tactic is consistent with the idea that we do not influence external events. However, in this particular instance, the liar is attempting to manage the very perspective of another person. Ultimately, this endeavor is fruitless, much like trying to control the wind. Recognizing the woven web of deceit is essential for progress. Stoicism strongly emphasizes the power of reason, a tool that enables us to differentiate between truth and dishonesty. We strive to steer clear of the intricate web the liar has woven. Marcus Aurelius says we have a short time to live, and we waste a lot of it on things that do not matter. This fact serves as a reminder for us. It would be a waste of life to allow oneself to become entangled in the manipulations of another. Stoicism is not just a means of escape, but also of being resilient. Concentrating on the aspects of ourselves we can control, like our thoughts, feelings, and actions, enhances our ability to overcome the challenges a liar poses. There is an option for us to choose not to participate in their manipulative games and instead select honest and transparent communication. In addition, Stoicism emphasizes maintaining emotional control. The liar's attempts to incite fear or wrath in others do not need to influence us. On the other hand, we can keep a level head and act sensibly. Remember, the power of a liar stems from the trust they undermine. By prioritizing our integrity and resisting exploitation, we can regain that power to live a life guided by Stoic ideals. A life of virtue, reason, and emotional control is a choice we can make. We can construct a far more empowering and meaningful reality than any web of falsehoods. Number 4, you feel strange around them. When in the company of a particular person, one frequently experiences an inherently unsettling feeling. This discomfort is not the result of a simple coincidence. Instead, it may represent a nuanced impression of the individual's psychological condition. Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher, told us, "It is not what happens to you that troubles you, but your judgment about what happens." This is a reminder that we should keep in mind. Our senses pick up intuitive awareness, a premonition that extends beyond the strictly logical world, likely causing this unease. Understanding the intricate energy fields that surround living creatures is just beginning to emerge in the scientific community. Traditional Eastern philosophies have long understood this invisible dimension, referring to it as the aura or chi. Even though the specific mechanisms are unknown, the concept is consistent with the Stoic conviction that everything is interrelated. Similar to how a person's body displays the effects of a poor diet through blemishes and exhaustion, their energy signature can also reveal their moral character. The discord inside us, whether from malice, envy, or lying, has the potential to radiate forth, producing a dissonance that resonates with our intuitive sense of direction. Dismissing this unease as nothing more than superstition would be a mistake. Marcus Aurelius, one of the Stoic emperors, wrote, "Our intuition is a divine spark. It would not be illogical to put our faith in this internal alarm. It may be a crucial safety measure, a warning system that alerts us to possible danger. Prudence is required. Not every incident of unease indicates malicious intent. An error in judgment could lead to an unnecessary confrontation." While Stoics supported intuition, they also campaigned for reason. If a more in-depth investigation finds that the origin of our discomfort is unwarranted, the most morally sound course of action would be to offer sincere apologies. Ultimately, we are responsible for choosing how to proceed. We can negotiate the complexity of human contact with a higher awareness if we acknowledge this delicate type of communication, which is the discord picked up by our intuition. We can create a life of discernment and steer clear of people who could harm our well-being. If we put our faith in our instincts and use reason and Stoic principles to guide its development, we are empowered. Number 5, they mislead you. Discord often finds fertile ground in dishonesty, where it can grow and flourish. Those who would manipulate the universe to satisfy their self-centered interests are especially relevant here. In the words of Marcus Aurelius, it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. These words serve as a reminder for us. In their pursuit of transient pleasures, selfish individuals squander their own time and waste the time and trust of others. The principal weapon they employ is the manipulation of reality to exert control over the very story of life. They spin complex webs of falsehoods, half-truths, and misinterpretations. Epictetus advises us to discriminate between the things we can control, like our own ideas and acts, and the things we cannot control, like other people's behavior. Dishonest individuals strive to manipulate both, to create a distorted account of events supporting their twisted interests. Beware of the dissonance that exists between the words they say and the actions they take. When Stoics examine the world, they do so with a mind that is unclouded by emotion and transparent and objective. According to Seneca, the key to genuine happiness is to take pleasure in the here and now, without becoming anxiously dependent on the future. We should refrain from entertaining ourselves with either hopes or anxieties, but rather be content with what we now possess, which is adequate. On the other hand, evil individuals reveal their actual character through their deeds, which directly oppose the narratives they have meticulously created. Frequently, the indications that they are manipulating you are subtle. They could try to disarm you by flattering you, or they might plant the seeds of mistrust about other people in your life. They could misrepresent the facts and mention irrelevant items to skew your opinion. The resulting uncertainty creates a world where the ground beneath your feet seems to shift, creating a reality vulnerable to manipulation. Listen carefully to the utterances of your intuition. Epictetus says it is not the event itself that upsets people, rather it is their judgments about it. However, even though evil individuals are good at producing illusions, you will most likely feel uneasy about the situation. Having faith in this inner voice is essential because it can identify the flaws in their well-created veneer. If you find yourself in the company of a manipulator, firmly vow to keep your distance. Interacting with them is like wrestling with a pig in mud. You both get muddy, and the pig takes pleasure in it. Instead, focus on cultivating your inner strength and guiding your life with virtue. By adhering to Stoic ideals, you can build a foundation of resilience that will allow you to withstand other people's manipulation. Remember the words of Marcus Aurelius: do not waste any more time arguing about what a good man ought to be. Be one. Number 6, they lack remorse. It's a cause of annoyance for you, which is quite understandable. Rule 5, build inner strength. An unquenchable need to control their surroundings motivates these people to an intense internal struggle. Epictetus, one of the most influential figures in Stoic philosophy, is credited with saying, "It is not what happens to you that upsets you. Rather, it is your judgment of what happens." Their skewed worldview, in which external recognition and dominance are the ultimate achievements, is the source of their joy and tragedy and manipulative behavior. However, by looking at these problematic encounters through the lens of Stoicism, we may build tactics to help us achieve inner calm and manage these difficult situations. Focus on what you can control. Learn to maintain your power. Other people's behaviors are beyond our control, but we can manage our response. It is a frantic effort to retain their frail sense of power, and their attempts to gaslight and deflect are examples. As Seneca, another Stoic writer, suggested, true happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future, not to amuse ourselves with either hopes or fears, but to rest satisfied with what we have, which is sufficient. We can cultivate inner strength that resists manipulation by grounding ourselves in our principles, rationality, and virtue. Recognizing the insecurity that lies beneath the mask requires seeing through the meticulously constructed facade of perfection they've built. It is not the absence of weakness that constitutes true strength. Instead, it is the willingness to recognize and grow from one's shortcomings. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." The fact that they are so intensely concerned with preserving an appearance of flawlessness reveals their insecurities and vulnerabilities. By realizing this fact, we can disassociate ourselves from their efforts to exert influence over us. Uphold your integrity by adhering to your principles rather than those of others. In the end, their attempts to exert control over you are a mirror of the agony that they are experiencing on the inside. Refrain from letting their strategies impact your decision. Here is a quote from Epictetus that reminds us that freedom is the ability to choose what you want and to refuse what you do not wish. You can break free from their manipulative influence by sticking to your ideas and keeping essential things in mind. Develop your character, live a moral life, and distance yourself from the need for external validation. Remember that achieving inner peace is not about altering other people's behavior but changing yourself. You may cultivate the strength and insight necessary to negotiate these complex relationships with grace and integrity if you accept Stoic ideas and put them into practice. Number 7, they are cruel. The external exhibition of cruelty, which is a weapon that some terrible individuals use, does not reflect strength, but rather a tremendous struggle that people are going through on the inside. These individuals, who are unable to escape the prison of negativity that they have constructed for themselves, resort to lashing out at their loved ones, animals, and even themselves in an attempt to dull their agony. Their vicious behavior serves as a barrier, allowing them to deflect the agony they are experiencing on the inside by inflicting it on the world around them. On the other hand, Stoic philosophy provides a means out of this gloom, a method to traverse the dangerous seas of another person's cruelty without becoming a victim yourself. Another Stoic pillar, Epictetus, underlines the need to distinguish between the things we can control and those we cannot. All of our ideas, deeds, and responses are inside our sphere of influence. The acts and reactions of other people, regardless of how cruel they may be, are firmly outside of it. We cannot mold people to our will and should not waste our energy attempting to do so. On the other hand, Stoic philosophy urges us to develop courageous virtue. You must have the courage to distance yourself from such negativity, as opposed to being a reflection of your value. Their behaviors are evidence of the inner anguish that they are experiencing. If you stay steadfast in your commitment to your beliefs and ideals, you can demonstrate genuine inner strength and prevent yourself from succumbing to their emotional storm. Seneca, another Stoic giant, said, "True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future, not to amuse ourselves with either hopes or fears, but to rest satisfied with what we have, which is sufficient." Suppose you distance yourself from the negativity of others and concentrate on the things you control. When faced with brutality, you can find serenity and security. Imagine a calm lake whose surface is unaffected by the wind blowing through the trees on its margin. The tranquility that enables us to navigate the storms of life, even the cruelty of others, without losing ourselves in the process, is the composure that Stoicism strives to create inside us. Stoicism is committed to fostering this kind of composure. Number 8, they lack responsibility. Specific individuals can be a significant source of annoyance due to their callous disdain for accountability, which they display. Their actions, driven solely by self-interest, seem to lack a moral compass, leaving a trail of suffering in their wake. At the same time, Epictetus brings to our attention that it is not what happens to you that upsets you, but your judgment about what happens to you. However, their lack of responsibility does not reflect your values. Instead, it indicates the internal turmoil they are experiencing. While it is true that we cannot influence the actions that others take, it is essential to remember that our response is entirely within our responsibility. According to Marcus Aurelius' teachings, do no longer waste time arguing about what a good man ought to be. B1. To move forward, we need to work on the Stoic virtues of justice, which means making sure our actions are based on fairness and reason, and courage, which means dealing with difficult people with inner strength. Strength, temperance, which means not letting your emotions get the best of you. Wisdom, which means figuring out the best thing to do. Their attempts to shift responsibility are nothing more than a blatant trick, a desperate attempt to escape the repercussions of their actions. Seneca once said, "True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future, not to amuse ourselves with either hopes or fears, but to rest satisfied with what we have, which is sufficient." It is a symptom of their weakness, not yours. They are transferring blame, and you should see it for what it is. Keep calm and concentrate on the things you can influence, such as your behavior and personality. In addition to being a tremendous gesture of courage, an honest apology is a sincere endeavor to rectify the damage inflicted. However, there is little benefit in forcing an apology from someone who feels no sorrow for their actions. Marcus Aurelius makes a rightful statement. When you feel offended by a man's miscarriage, examine yourself to see if you are not also guilty. Even if it is a lengthy and tedious process, you inspire good change in others by embodying Stoic values and acting with integrity. By cultivating a Stoic worldview, you can ultimately negotiate these brutal encounters with inner serenity and strength. It would help if you assign the responsibility for the crime to the individual who committed it. You can demonstrate the power of moral living by focusing on your virtuous behavior and maintaining emotional control. You can be a shining example of integrity in a world that may sometimes appear indifferent to such principles. They don't have boundaries. Disentangling oneself from poisonous personalities is one of the most emotionally exhausting obstacles that life presents. Life presents us with numerous challenges. These people, frequently characterized as lacking boundaries, can be unrelentingly persistent, hanging on to us like a shadow we cannot leave behind. A mask of gregarious charm, disguised threats, and emotional manipulation are all examples of the kinds of methods that they might use. Their tactics can be as diverse as they are deceptive. Stoicism, a philosophical school emphasizing reason and virtue, provides an excellent foundation for negotiating notoriously tricky circumstances. The idea of a duality of control is fundamental to the Stoic philosophical tradition. Epictetus, one of the most influential Stoic philosophers, is credited with saying, "It is not what happens to you that matters, but how you react to it." While we can't control other people's behaviors, we can manage our responses. We can begin the process of constructing an emotional fortress, one that is capable of warding off negativity and safeguarding our inner peace. If we acknowledge that manipulative strategies are external to our goodness, we can maintain our composure. Another fundamental principle that underpins Stoicism is the idea of detachment. When we say this, we are not implying apathy or indifference. Instead, we are sharply distinguishing between what we can control and what we cannot. Within our area of influence, we do not have any control over another individual's character. Firstly, we have the choice to resist succumbing to their emotional whim. We are distancing ourselves from their attempts to control our feelings, removing ourselves from their position of authority. By refusing to succumb to their insults and negativity, we lessen the impact of their words. The essay correctly emphasizes that meaningful transformation can only originate within an individual alone. Forcing someone to behave favorably is like attempting to start a fire with damp wood. It is an exercise in futility. Nevertheless, we can make the decision not to agree with their pessimism. Seneca, a Roman Stoic philosopher, advocated that true happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future, not to amuse ourselves with either hopes or fears, but to rest satisfied with what we have, which is sufficient. Even if it persists, letting go of negativity enables us to reclaim our emotional space and create authentic happiness. We encourage ourselves to focus on our thoughts, actions, and emotions, the things we can control. Always remember that there is a way out of the maze of unhealthy relations. Using the Stoic concepts of emotional resilience, clear boundaries, and detachment, you can traverse this struggle and emerge strong, ready to spend your energy in relationships that are good and supportive of your life. Now you know everything there is to know. Are there any of these indications that you are familiar with? You may share your opinions in the comments section below. And if you want more Stoic wisdom to help you deal with the small curveballs that life throws at you, do not forget to hit that subscribe button. Be courageous and intelligent, and always remember that you can choose how you respond regardless of the person you are interacting with. Until we meet again, be strong and wise.